So here's what I would love to do. We have talked about so much because we can only remember so much, our poor human brains, like two or three things. So I would love to know for the audience in like 30 seconds or so, what would you want them to have as their main takeaway from everything that you've talked about here today?
I think because I firmly believe this is the sole reason for any success that I have in the world, from being able to be married 18 years to my wonderful wife, to having a great kid who's about to turn 16, to any success I have in business or anywhere else, is that be who you are, be genuine. I had a CEO one time, she brought in another employee that they had, and she brought her kid into work. And one day we were interacting with this other employee. And then I came in and we started talking to the CEO's kid. And later on, she called me and she said, I had a conversation with my son afterwards. And she said, I asked him if he could tell a difference between the way that John was and this other employee was. And they started having this conversation about what it was to be. And I wasn't trying to do anything. We were talking about music or something. I can't remember what we were talking about. And she told me, you are who you are. And that genuine caring and wanting to make connections and not trying to put on any kind of facade about whatever is so attractive to just people. And it makes a difference in that interaction where you really made her son feel like I cared about him. And we were talking. I'm like, well, I did. I wasn't trying to put on a show for Leo's kid. I was like, I genuinely care. Now I've known her for a long time. I really, really love her like an older sister. And she said, look at this other person. And she said, he was totally trying. It was not genuine. It was a used car salesman. And she's like, do you see the difference in that? She's like, these are people you want to have in your life and want to not just work with, but just have in your life. These are people you want to avoid. And that made me think for a long time, because I was like, oh man, when we had the interaction, it was just a conversation. But it really made me realize the impact of just doing that, of being who you are and the caring can have on other people. So I think if anything that you can take away from, especially as leaders, my God, especially as leaders of companies, you've got to care for people. If you can't, you will not retain anybody. You just won't. I went from a company where I had the worst boss I've ever had in my entire life to the best manager I've ever had in my entire life. Mina Gabriel is one of the best managers I've ever had in my entire life. And that dichotomy between those two experiences were so impactful to me. It was like I learned what not to do and I learned what to do. The way it makes you feel and the loyalty that he has. I have conversations with Mina today. Like I'll still connect with them and I'll run things by him or whatever. Those connections will last you a lifetime. That connection with people, that loyalty that you'll breed in people if you just care. I can't express how important that is. I think that's the most important thing in not just business, but in life.